Sean Manaea is back, ladies and gentlemen. The Mets have extended Manaea 3 years, $75 million. We will talk about this extension and what it could mean for the New York Mets in pursuit of more pitching this offseason to solidify the rotation. Let's get into it. All right, Mets fans, welcome back to the channel. It's a True Mets Talk podcast with your boy CP. What better way to come back from vacation for me than to have an immediate, impactful move for the New York Mets getting done? Sean Manaea extended 3 years, $75 million. It's a beautiful contract for the New York Mets that does contain some deferrals. The deferrals have not been specified as of yet by Anthony DeComo, but we do know that there are some deferrals, which make me immediately think that there is another pitching move to be had for the Mets in this starting rotation. Before we get into this video, please do hit the thumbs up button. Subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel and want more Mets content this offseason, and comment your thoughts and opinions down below as we are reacting to this recent Mets news of this Sean Manaea extension. Some other breaking news that is going to go along in the talks here as we look at the updated 2025 rotation outlook for the New York Mets is that just as I'm recording this right now, Walker Buehler has agreed to a 1-year, $21 million deal with the Boston Red Sox. So if the Mets are trying to go out there and get another name is off the board in Walker Buehler as the starting pitching pool, whether it's free agency or trade candidates, gets smaller and smaller and smaller. But let's first talk about Sean Manaea and this deal. It was never a question about the AAV, as we've seen other contracts like Max Fried, $27.5 million to the Yankees over 8 years, or whether it's Yusei Kikuchi getting $21 million a year from the Angels. $24 to $26 million was always the sweet spot for Sean Manaea, and what the market has set itself up to be for these left-handed starters. Was there a desperate team that would go 4 or even 5 years for Sean Manaea? Well, guess what? It seemed like a match made in heaven for Manaea and the New York Mets. Manaea gets to stay in New York, where he revitalized his career by posting these numbers. We've talked about these numbers so often on this channel, and we've talked about Manaea numerous times at this point this offseason in hopes of extending him, and now it has come to fruition. 3 years, it's awesome. That's also perfect for the New York Mets in terms of not needing to go that additional 4th or 5th year just to retain the services of Sean Manaea, who we know is a Boras client and was going to maximize the potential of a deal that he got done. Now, again, I can sit here and talk about what Sean Manaea truly meant to this 2024 New York Mets rotation, but that's an obvious, right? He served as the Mets ace for most of the season, especially after he adjusted his mechanics to emulate that of Chris Sale. He absolutely took off, posting a 3.47 ERA and a 9.1 strikeout per 9. The sinker getting a lot of swing and miss as his primary pitch. That awesome sweeper to go along with it, missing opposing hitters' bats. The skill set and the mechanics of Sean Manaea, we've talked about a lot on this channel. So I will save that discussion and potentially for a later stream, or potentially for a little bit more of an update on the rotation as we progress closer and are closer to the 2025 season starting. But I wanted to take a minute in this video to talk about what could be the next move for this Mets rotation this offseason, right? We saw Griffin Canning. It was a $4.25 million deal, a 1-year deal with the New York Mets a couple days ago. He's going to be in line for maybe a spot in the back end of the rotation, potentially, worst case scenario, a long man out of the bullpen. I don't think the Mets are giving out a $4.25 million deal to a guy that is not going to make the opening day roster. So I do expect Griffin Canning to be involved in some sort of capacity on this roster as 2025 opens up, but he is going to almost certainly be competing with the likes of Clay Holmes, depending on if he can crack the rotation, a Paul Blackburn as a 6th starter. We know, and we're assuming heavily that the Mets are going to go 6 a six-man rotation with Kodai Senga and his injury concerns. So who's going to be that sixth starter? Griffin Canning cannot be the shoo-in, posting north of a 5.0 ERA and what was an abysmal performance in 2024. Are the Mets going to go after another name to pair and create a solidified top three alongside Kodai Senga and Sean Manaea? And I guess you can even say a top four with David Peterson and his re-energized 2024 campaign. The answer for me is absolutely yes. The New York Mets have to add another frontline starter, and this 3-year deal for Sean Manaea is not the end-all be-all for this rotation. It's a fantastic deal for both sides, do not get me wrong, but there is room for one other move as a headliner in this rotation for 2025 and beyond. I know that Walker Buehler is now officially, as we just mentioned, off the board. That was a candidate that the Mets were reportedly interested in. Now he is a Boston Red Sox on a 1-year deal. Corbin Burnes is the big fish in the pond. Could the Mets be slowly creeping up on the Burnes market if Burnes and Boris are saying that they would go, a low year deal, high AAV? Could the Mets potentially be in on him? It's a little bit of a long shot, but again, I'll never count the Mets out on any top free agent, as we have heard Scott Boras talk about recently as well. Could a blockbuster trade, be a little easier now? Could the path be a little bit easier with the Red Sox getting another pitcher alongside Garrett Crochet for their rotation? These are the questions that I am wondering here to myself, and I'm sure we'll talk about it on our stream coming up tonight, on is there another move? Because again, we mentioned the deferrals that were reported. There are no specifics on the deferrals for Sean Manaea's contract, but we know that there are some deferrals. Could they be freeing up some payroll allocations for 2025 to bring in a guy like a Luis Castillo, who is going to be costing them for the next 3 years if a trade were to go down just around $21-22 million a year, or if they have to go the extra mile, maybe $35+ million AAV on a short-term deal for Corbin Burnes? Could this free up some payroll allocations for the New York Mets as they are fastly approaching $300 million? I don't have the math right in front of me, but again, with this deal for Sean Manaea, they are approaching that mark. Let me know what you think, Mets fans. So very happy Sean Manaea is back in a Mets uniform. Again, it just felt right for this deal to happen. It was not a question on if for me. It was a question on when, and that was very evident in the previous discussion that I had on this channel about Sean Manaea. If you missed that video, I'll link it down in the description down below. But let me know what you think, Mets fans, about the Sean Manaea deal and about what could be next. Hit those thumbs up buttons, subscribe to the channel. We're talking Mets baseball all off season long. Until the next video, peace out.
Thank you for watching the True Mets Talk podcast. Make sure you're tapping on that notifications button and checking out all the latest content on the channel. Thank you.